Have you ever thought, there's got to be a better and simpler way to learn organizational strategies? 5 Minutes Learning has a global and diverse collection of case studies to help management students. Click the subscribe button and hit the bell icon to stay updated with our upcoming and interesting case studies. At first, I would like to say a few words about the people's car, which is Tata Nano. It all began on January 13, 2008. Ratan Tata, chairman of the Tata Group, unveiled the Tata Nano at the Auto Expo in New Delhi. According to Mr. Tata, the Nano was built to meet all safety standards, designed to meet and exceed emissions norms, be low in pollution and high in fuel efficiency. Moreover, the car was within everyone's reach, the price of its base model being only 1 lakh. Eventually, on March 23, 2009, the Tata Nano was officially and commercially launched at the Taj Mahal Palace in Mumbai. As there were only 1,000 cars on display across India, most people had to place an order without having seen or test drive the Nano. Within 2 weeks, the Tata Nano official website received 20 million hits. Now let's move on to the first part of my video, which is about the story behind the idea of Nano. The origin of the story begins in 2002, when Ratan Tata was traveling in his car on a rainy afternoon in Bangalore. It was then he spotted a family of 4 on a scooter at an intersection. The father was riding on the scooter, his young kid standing in front of him between his legs, and his wife seated behind him holding on a little baby. This was a typical scene on Indian roads. Due to the lack of decent means of transportation, people across the country were risking their lives every day to get to work or to send their children to school. This encounter prompted Ratan Tata to think about conceiving a safe, affordable all-weather form of transport for such a family. The idea of building a 4-wheel vehicle from scooter parts came to his mind. Ratan Tata's ambitious plan was greeted with disbelief by the auto industry, as the cheapest existing car was priced at 2.5 lakh rupees in India at that point of time. Even in 2006, 2 years before the unveiling of the Tata Nano, Osamu Suzuki, who was the founder of Suzuki, made a public statement that it was impossible to make a reliable car for 1 lakh rupees. Great. As I've explained how the idea of Nano originated, so now we come to the next point, which is, how the so-called impossible task of creating a car, for a price of 1 lakh rupees was achieved? Yet from day one, Tata Motors was committed to turning the dream of a people's car into reality. In 2003, a dedicated team was set up to undertake this mission impossible. They developed an innovative engine for the Nano that not only cost less to build but also provided better fuel efficiency, emission control and cost of maintenance. Among a lot of innovations made by them, let me quote a few examples of cost innovations. The front seats of the Nano had no seat frame and were adjustable to only 3 fixed reclining positions, which resulted in 10% fewer components than the Maruti and a 60% reduction in cost. Not only that, they also came to realize that some factors could not be reduced or eliminated even though doing so would reduce costs. For example, making the Nano a 2-door car could achieve substantial cost savings, but omitting easy access to the rear seats would greatly inconvenience the typical multi-generational Indian families, and therefore could not be adopted. To lower the cost to users, they endeavored to lower the total cost of ownership of the Nano, not only in terms of the upfront purchase price, but also monthly fixed expenses and operating expenses, such as after-sales services and maintenance, as well as interest repayments on loans. Moreover, to reduce the monetary burden on customers migrating from a 2-wheeler to a car, the team arranged cheaper financing services for borrowers through partnerships with major Indian banks. In fact, all cost innovations were premised upon and conducive to the goal of transforming the life of Indian families, by getting them off a 2-wheeler and into a safe, comfortable, fuel-efficient passenger car. With that being said, now let's turn to the main issue, which is how Tata Nano failed in execution. An innovative distribution plan was designed for making the Nano to reach the great mass of Indian families. Tata Motors intended to distribute the Nano through Tata Group's non-traditional channels, like electronics retailer Chroma and the fashion retailer Westside. In addition, the Tata Nano team seriously explored the possibility of extending such non-traditional channels to include distributed manufacturing, whereby semi-knocked-down kits could be sent to strategically positioned satellite mini-factories, where the Tata Nano could be assembled like IKEA furniture and distributed directly to buyers. In doing so, Tata Motors expected to make massive cost savings on operating assembly lines, running local dealerships, and paying for labor. Furthermore, it could also save on high insurance fees for the delivery of cars, requiring a long, dangerous trip across India. But while executing, instead of using non-traditional channels and adopting the SKD models, to allow the Tata Nano to reach Indian families throughout the country, Tata Motors resorted to traditional dealerships for the display and sale of the car, as these were already in place. Moreover, due to the limited production capacity of the interim facilities, only 1,000 cars were available for display across India when the Nano was launched commercially, and they went on display in larger showrooms in big cities. As typical two-wheeler buyers were reluctant to walk into a large car showroom, the People's Car mostly reached existing car owners, who were looking to buy Tata Nano as a second car for its cheap price. As the reputation of the Tata Nano went from being perceived as the people's car, to the cheapest car, by existing owners, two-wheeler owners were turned off. By the end of March 2012, exactly 3 years after its commercial launch, monthly sales crossed the 10,000 mark for the first time. To be exact, 10,475 units had been delivered by Tata Motors dealers to buyers that month, nowhere near the original projection of 20,000 to 25,000 units per month. Finally, let me explain the steps taken by Tata Motors to revive the people's car. In April 2011, Tata Motors put together a 10-member crack team to monitor the progress of Tata Nano sales. One of its actions was to set up 210 first-class showrooms in small cities and towns across India, manned by 1,200 personnel. Each showroom displayed one Tata Nano in a floor area of only 50 square meters. To increase the distribution reach, Tata Motors tied up with the hypermarket chain Big Bazaar to display the Tata Nano at the 70 outlets in smaller cities and towns, making it more accessible and real to potential buyers. While the crack team was still working hard to get the sales and marketing campaign back on track, Ratan Tata announced at the Geneva Auto Show 2012 that the humble Tata Nano was about to get a major upgrade from its people's car roots to a must-have fashion item. The headline read, "Tata Reboots Nano, World's Cheapest Car, as Coolest Small Car." Despite this effort, Nano sales dropped from 74,521 cars in 2011 to 53,847 cars in 2012, followed by 21,130 cars sold in 2013, and only 16,903 cars in 2014. In 2015, Tata Motors launched Tata Nano Gen X, in an attempt to revive the Nano brand by repositioning it as a more upmarket product. Yet sales of the Nano continued to dwindle. In 2016, barely over 10,000 Gen X cars were shipped. Apparently, the people's car has missed its people. Thank you so much for listening to this video. Do not forget to subscribe this YouTube channel for receiving updates about my upcoming case study videos.